so grateful for the opportunity, but also it's kind of good to be the final speaker because lots of things that I'll be talking about, somehow they were already mentioned. So it will be a nice summary that I'll be doing. So the title of the presentation is Circular Business Models, what companies say about opportunities and challenges. And first of all, I just say a few words about the business models that are out there, but then I will talk about the research results. So the circular business models and operations, there are plenty of classifications, and I'm using this particular one. And here you can see the 4 types that were identified. So the first one is product as a service. And the second one is product life extension. The third one is circular supplies. And the fourth one is resource recovery. And don't worry if you don't understand immediate what it all means, but I'll just give a few examples. So first one is a product as a service, and that's basically about the rentals. And we have Lindstrom, the company that rents out the workwear, or we have Gani Repeat, for example, and that's the brand that they have that that's on the Gani brand, and you can rent the clothes from them. And also there was Vata Foods, closed down now, but they were B2C business, but also they had that subscription model. So the product as a service is just basically about renting clothes out instead of selling them. Then the second type of business model is product life extension, and there are several examples under that title. And first of them is resale, and there are plenty of, again, examples. It's peer-to-peer sale of second-hand items. And for example, it's just if we look at the Zada, and then the platform only mediates the interaction between the seller and the buyer. But then there are also third-party marketplaces, such as Emmy, for example, that you have heard presentation earlier, or Sellpy. And there might be also own brand, e-commerce, and take-back businesses. And then last time, Alpa was talking about that during our last workshop. And then another example under the product life extension, that's the repair, and just Mended and Dan that had a presentation right before me. That's one of the examples. But then Nudigenes, and I think Dan mentioned that business model. And you can have repair either in-house, or you can collaborate with the platforms like Mended, or you can also, for instance, for our local Finnish market, there is a platform that is called Mendi. So that's a similar type of a business model. So you can use to repair and to extend the product life cycle. Then another example of, again, a product life cycle extension is repair. And here the example is Vaatelastri. That's the Finnish brand. They are producing patches. And the third type of a business model is about the resource recovery, when we are using the resources out there. And so they use textiles, for example, and create the new items out of the used items. And that is called upcycling, if we use some investment of creativity, so to speak. And that's an example of that is a small brand, Red House from Estonia. And then the last type is circular supplies. It's when we use organic, recyclable, recycled, or certified materials. And you can see right now in the market lots of collaborations with Spinnova, Infinited Fibers, and well, Renewcell has been again closed down. But anyway, here you see the examples of Spinnova with Jack and Jones, and also Reima with Infina, so the innovative fibers. So those are just few examples of the business models, and all of you who are working on that market, you know them pretty well. But what I was going to talk about mainly is just our research results. And we have done 20 interviews with the companies in Finland, Sweden, Estonia, and Latvia. And there were very different companies, from large-scale multinational brands to small circular companies. And they are usually of different business models. Some of them are linear business models, companies which are trying circular operations, but some of them are companies that were born circular. So they are big and small companies, and we have talks to them about opportunities and challenges for circular business models. And I have identified 5 main types. It's the regulation, supply chain, market and consumers, organizational structure, and technology and data. So lots of things that were mentioned, but it's just, I'll summarize. The first one is the legislation and the regulation. And Timo mentioned that there are the issues with that. But then on the one hand, legislation can be an opportunity because, our companies actually saying like, that we need to ask our legislators to legislate a little bit more, because when there is a legislation out there, then everyone is on the same boat, and legislation also pushes the companies to solve the problem and to invest in a particular area and to try something new. But of course, because we are right now facing the oncoming stream of new legislation at the European Union level, and there is that extended producer responsibility and also digital product passport and so on and so forth. So for the companies, it can be a lot, and legislation, it looks like a jungle. And there is an uncertainty and consequences of the upcoming legislation. So for instance, who will own a market of reuse when legislation is introduced? And other challenges and opportunities, they relate to supply chain. And here the main thing, the main idea that all of the brands are talking about is the collaboration. And just in general, collaboration is the best way to develop circular economy. We all grow together, and you have heard already the examples of collaboration of Emmy with Reima, for example, or collaboration of Mendit with Mud Jeans. And circular economy is all about collaboration. There should be collaboration between companies with linear business models and circular business models, of companies with waste management companies, universities and research institutes, service companies and entrepreneurs. So just in general, those collaborations, they allow to develop new business models and circular operations, or make the tryouts. There are plenty of tryouts and trials going on also with the universities, just to try new things and services and to see how they will work out. And there are also plenty of challenges because of that, because when companies are trying to collaborate, of course, a lot depends on the partners that are out there, and sometimes the potential partners that might not be in a good economic shape. So they might look as the good partners, but then they might be in bad economic conditions, for instance, don't have enough resources for collaboration. So it all depends on who is out there on the local markets. But then also the brands, they will asking like how to make sure that the partner services are of good quality and so on and so forth. So collaboration is really key for circular economy. So on the market or consumer side, it's also like a huge thing is consumer awareness, and it gives both, again, opportunities and challenges. Of course, on the one hand, and that's we have seen from the presentations earlier, from Timo's presentations, that there is a shift in attitudes towards used clothes. There is no more stigma as it was before, stigma towards wearing used clothes. And also the consumers have both things and desire to donate and recycle. And again, that's something that we have heard about. Our wardrobes are full. And it's also a popular trend enforced by climate change. But at the same time, there are plenty of challenges, of course, because on the one hand, neither consumers nor companies are mature with circular business models. Obviously, the linear business models, they have been out there for more than 200 years, but the circular business models is something that we are doing right now. There's not enough information. There are not enough, paths. So we don't really know like how to do that business successfully. So everything is just like we are discovering. And also consumer awareness is still not high enough. For example, like there is a quote from the interview, we need to raise the awareness about correct donations, that things have to be clean, and that is needed. But also sometimes the image of circular business models is not good enough in all of the markets. That's one of the examples of from the Estonian market. Words Kaltsukas and Kirbukas in Estonian are ugly. Well, that's just a quote from an interview. And then consumer behavior changes slowly. And we do know in consumption studies that there is a difference between attitudes, what people are saying that they want, to contribute, but then what they're doing might be a little bit different. There are plenty of concerns from the company sides. Will new services ever find consumers? There are organizational issues. And of course, also there are opportunities and the challenges. when we are developing circular operations, that gives new consumer niches, and also we can try new products, upcycled products, or secondhand clothing. We can add that. Then new services as well, repair, rental, and so on. And we see the examples of different business models, even if not circular business models, even if not in the textile, for example, also in other areas. And all different circular business models can grow together. But then there are challenges. Of course, there are plenty of challenges. Again, Dan just mentioned that scaling can be an issue. Then timing is an issue, figuring out the elements of new business models and services. So for example, if the company is big and if the partner is small, so how to combine small and large scale operations, what operations should be online, what should be offline, and so on and so forth. Of course, funding is an issue, how much resources we should invest to make sure that we get the revenue. And the last thing is technology and data. And of course, that's a huge thing. And we have heard a lot about technology and data today. Of course, the appearance of digital platforms and applications such as LPT, Zada, they bring a lot to the market, lots of challenges, lots of changes. Lots of opportunities as well. Then the data, the availability of data and allows the companies to make better forecasts, for example, so they can avoid overproduction and unsold garments, but on the other hand, they can also check where the demand is. Then data allows personalization of services. We offer personal profile to consumer and adjusted rental services according to that. But of course, there are plenty of opportunities related to the materials, and that Nani mentioned that materials, there are different materials, but some of the materials are just difficult to recycle if they're layers, if they're not 100%, for instance, cotton. Then technologies of recycling are not developed enough, not in all of the places. There was an example from Latvia that it's not enough of textile recycling there. Information on new services is missing. What innovation would work, what materials are good for renting, how many times can a dress be rented out, and so on and so forth. So plenty of question marks for the businesses. So they have to sort of learning by doing things and what the businesses can do. And there have been a lot of said already that legislation is very important structural issue. And right now, if you look, for instance, at the LinkedIn, there are plenty of discussion going on between the legislators and also different actors in the textile and fashion industry. Then the second thing that is important to do is, of course, to collaborate, and collaboration is the key. We've heard many examples, so we have to collaborate. Then educate consumers to get on board. Of course, consumers, they are inclining right now, but also like plenty of them who just needs to get more information and to be pushed even more, and the brands can do that. Then make sure the management is on the same page. That's, of course, very important that within the company, within the organization, that C-level management supports the ideas, so then it goes through the whole company. Don't be afraid to compete. That's because the competition still is not very high in that among the circular businesses. Of course, it's high in general in the market. And collect and use data. And data is the key in today's economy, as we have heard many times. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. And that's, again, another piece of research that I was happy to share. And we have a lot more, and we'll be sharing during our next events. Thank you, and bye.
Great. Thank you so much, Olga. And of course, you feel free to add some questions in the chat if you wish, and Olga can see if she can go through those.